Hey there, you're listening to the Girls Talking Life podcast, and I'm your host, Johanna. If you're like me, you love time with friends. I always leave feeling encouraged, inspired to try something different, or I've learned something new. So why not continue to grow even when we can't be with our girlfriends? We're not made to do life on our own. So in each episode of this show, I'll bring you a girl and her story to give you refreshing ideas to stir your soul. Let's walk this road together. Are you ready to talk life? Welcome to this show. I'm so glad you chose to spend some time here. There are so many other things you could be doing, and I'm honored that you're listening in here. One listener writes, "Truth. Love this podcast and the truth that the guests share. We need more real life, not real, REEL, so that we can come together and encourage one another. Thankful for this podcast." Thank you, Jess. Thanks for your kind words. Not only does it fuel me to keep doing this work, but it also helps other women find us and listen along and get their girl time too. I would also love it if you would rate and review the show on the platform that you listen to or on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening the week this episode drops, you're likely being affected in some way by the pandemic. And of course, lots of people are talking about the current state of our world. I've been listening to lots of my favorite people talk about things like managing fear and what to do with your time. And it's been great. But I also think it's good to take a break and think about other things too. So I hope this next 30 minutes can be that break for you. Today I'm talking with Jasmine Holmes. Jasmine is a writer and blogger at the Gospel Coalition, Desiring God, Fathom Mag, Modern Reformation, Christianity Today, and The Witness. She teaches humanities in a classical Christian school in Jackson, Mississippi, where she and her husband Philip are parenting 2 young sons. Jasmine and I are talking about her brand new book, Mother to Son, Letters to a Black Boy on Identity and Hope. Jasmine beautifully writes to her young son about her love and hope for him, and also what she wants him to know as he grows from a boy to a man in his brown skin. Jasmine says, "While the first purpose of this letter is an inward look at a mother's heart for her son, the second purpose is an outward look at a sister's heart for her siblings. As I raise my son in our current cultural climate, my desire is that we as older believers will work daily at changing that environment, making it a more welcome place for discussion, learning, and growth." Jasmine and I talk about our fears and how they differ as moms of children with different color skin and different genders, but how we can relate and empathize with each other. Jasmine tells us that this isn't a parenting book, that she's not an experienced parent yet, but in the spaces where she does have experiences that I don't, that's where I've been able to learn from her, and I hope you do too. Jasmine encourages us to have the difficult conversations about racial identity with a spirit of love and a focus on the gospel of Christ. She says her hope for this book, for people who aren't Black, is to get a beautiful restorative picture of what cross-cultural relationships can look like. Everything we talk about can be found in the show notes for today's episode on girlstalkinglife.com. Here's my conversation with Jasmine. Hey Jasmine, I am so glad that you're here with me today and we get to chat.
I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're an author and a teacher, and I know that you live in Jackson, Mississippi, but what else can you tell me and my listeners about who you are?
I'm married to Philip, and I have 2 little boys named Wynn and Langston. They are 3 and 1, and I teach 8th grade. I teach medieval history and English and Bible, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Jasmine, your writing, you've written all over the place, it looks like, but your writing focuses on identity, and you claim that you have endured an identity crisis. Talk to me about what that means.
For me, it's just a pretty dramatic way of saying that over the past few years, I feel like I've really been growing and maturing, and I've described it to friends of mine. It's just like growing into myself as an adult, as a Christian woman.
Yeah.
I grew up, I was a pastor's kid, and I'm the oldest of 9 children.
Wow.
So there's just a lot of pressure that comes along with that. And getting married, starting my own family, and starting to forge my own path has given me a lot of opportunity to grow in grace and to grow in my understanding of who God wants me to be versus trying to please whoever might be watching. Fellow pastors' kids I know can relate to that. People watching.
You have written this brand new book, Mother to Son, Letters to a Black Boy on Identity and Hope. And it is just filled with beautiful moments and stories of your son being around 2 years old. And you capture it so beautifully and so sweetly. And I think about my girls. My girls are older now. They are 9 and 12. But I don't have that. Like I didn't capture those moments and how I was feeling and things they did. And I certainly have my memories, but you so beautifully captured it on the pages of this book. Why then did you want to share it? Why do you want to share that with the world?
I think I wanted to share it because I thought that it would be a really impactful way to talk about identity and hope and love. I wanted to couch all of this difficult conversation about racial identity in the love that I have for my sons, to make it more accessible, to make it more relatable, and to just give a testament and a testimony of the way that I feel about my sons and my hope for them.
It's really beautifully written and heartfelt. And I love that you, like I said, mentioned all these moments with your son and then your son that was in utero at the time of your writing. But then you teach these really deep, meaningful lessons to your son, but then also to everyone who's reading it. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I was inspired. Thank you so much, first of all, for your kind words. I was inspired by two other authors. James Baldwin wrote The Fire Next Time, letters to his nephew about identity and kind of the surrounding civil rights movement that was going on. And Chimamanda Adichie wrote letters to her goddaughter about womanhood and feminism. And so I'd been kind of exposed to, just in rapid succession, these two authors who used letters to teach truth to not just the people they were writing to, but to other people who were able to look in on that writing and learn from that writing. And I wanted to do the same thing. I had a mentor of mine, Karen Ellis, who helped me to kind of solidify my ideas for the book. And she helped me because at first I was like, I don't know if I want to write this because my son is, at the time he was 2 years old. I am still not an experienced parent. But she kind of helped me to realize it's not a parenting book. It's not a how-to book. It's really a book about hope in the future.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. How old is your son now?
He's 3. He's 3.5.
Right. So not much bigger, not much older.
No, he's still so little. And I still have so much to learn.
Well, you describe him as being big for his age and taking after his dad. And you talk about him growing up to be a man who could be thought of as threatening. And I wanted to read this one part real quick. You say, "You'll be imposing not only because of your height or the deep, rich voice I expect you to inherit from your daddy, but also because of the color of your skin in a world where police officers have gunned down a little Black boy with a toy gun because they confused him for an armed adult Black man. I realize that your skin tone alone will be enough to cause some people to fear you." And Jasmine, as I read that, I sympathize and I'm trying to draw a parallel to my own life as a mom. And, I'm raising girls and I don't know what it's like to be a boy mom or to have sons that have brown skin. And the only way I can draw that parallel for myself is to think of my girls growing up into women that are perceived of as weak or people that could be taken advantage of easily. And I know that's not the same thing, but that is my best comparison, I think.
Yeah. I think that even though not everybody can relate exactly, as a mother, I know that we both have hopes and fears and dreams for our children. I know during the whole, and it's not over, but during the beginning of the Me Too movement, I was just very like, okay, I am raising sons and I want them to be respectful of women and I want them to be in safe circumstances and I just could not imagine what it would be like to have daughters in that cultural climate. And I could sympathize and empathize, but I couldn't, completely put myself into that headspace. And so I bet it's kind of similar where with my sons, I just have so much of a a fear for them as they grow up in their brown skin. I have a fear that they're not going to be allowed to be children for as long as I want them to be allowed to be children.
Yeah.
And that balancing act weighs heavy on my mind sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. And like I said, I can't exactly relate to your fear, but I feel it. And after reading your words, I feel it more deeply. Hey, I'm just going to interrupt my conversation quickly to tell you about the Girls Talking Life conversation cards. You may have heard me talk about these before. I made them for myself a long time ago for a girls' night at my house. They are great for a girls' night in, a small group or a women's event, and they've just been redesigned. They have a whole new look and some new questions. If you already received the Girls Talking Life newsletter, check your inbox for your new cards. If you haven't signed up yet, now's your chance to get free downloadable cards for yourself. While you may not be getting together with your girlfriends or your small group right now, you can have these printed, cut, and ready to go for when things get back to normal, the perfect at-home project. Or I challenge you to get creative. Use these cards over Zoom or FaceTime with your family and friends to keep the conversation going virtually. To grab a set of these cards so you can get talking, go to girlstalkinglife.com and sign up. Now back to my conversation. You call your son in the book to be transcendent. Talk to me about what that means.
Yeah, that's another word from Karen Ellis. And whenever we talked about issues of race and identity, she always reminds me to strive to be transcendent, meaning to strive not to be easily categorized in one camp or another. I think that so many times, like categorizing ourselves in different camps or different sides makes us lazy, and we stop doing the hard work because we let our party line or the camp that we're in make decisions for us and think for us instead of thinking carefully through issues. And oftentimes, I know for me, I let my fear of being ostracized by certain people allow me to kind of put a gag order on truth. So I may see something that I disagree with, but because my camp is saying it, I'm going to keep quiet. Or I may see an attitude that isn't godly because it's coming out of my camp. I'm not going to critique it. And I want to be so careful not to fall into that. And transcendent is just one way that we've started to put it.
Okay, I really like that term. I am an Enneagram 9, so I don't like to take sides in any situation, but that makes it hard to speak up sometimes as well.
Yeah, my husband is an 8 with a 9 wing, which is an interesting combination.
Yes,
but
it is.
Whenever I'm asking him, I always tell him, you're never just on my side. He's like, I'm always on your side. I'm always on your side. But it's very important to understand where everybody is coming from. And I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's a blessing and a curse. For sure.
So tell me what you would like readers to feel or do as a result of reading your words.
The thing that's always at the top of my mind is to have really hard conversations with a spirit of love and charity and with a focus on the gospel of Christ. Because Christ died on the cross for us, we're brothers and sisters if we believe in him and call on his name. And that brotherhood and that sisterhood is every bit as close and precious as my love for my son and my love for my family and my love for my husband. And it's really hard to walk that out sometimes. I totally understand that. I totally get that. But it's what we're called to. And so if my book has any lasting impact, I hope that a willingness to have difficult conversations with the people that we love and that they still be the people that we love after those difficult conversations.
What can I do as a white woman, as your sister in Christ, to move us in a direction where we can have those healthy, sometimes difficult conversations?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, you read the book and that's amazing. I've had a lot of people ask me oh, can I read it if I don't have sons, or can I read it if I'm not Black, or can I read it if I'm like, please read it. But also just being willing to be vulnerable and being willing to confess ignorance if there is ignorance there. And I know that ignorance is a very it's a loaded word and it's not one that we really like. I don't particularly like it, but it really just means a lack of knowledge and a lack of exposure. And so sometimes being willing to say, you know what, I don't actually know about that because that's not my experience. Maybe you could tell me more about that. It's something that I've learned to do myself with other people. And I think that we can all stand to do that a lot more, to be willing to hear hard things, process those things, and not to go to a kind of guilt that doesn't glorify God and just like makes you go further inward. It makes you fearful. But instead, if there is actual sin, a godly repentance that leads to restoration. My hope for the book for people who are not Black is that get a really beautiful and restorative view of what cross-cultural relationships can look like.
And I think you did a really great job of that.
Thank you.
I was at a sporting event a few weeks ago, and it was predominantly a white audience, and it was a long day, so we were going kind of in and out, and I passed some Black boys on their way in. They were middle school, high school age boys, and they were kind of rowdy and, pushing their way through the door. And I was, my first thought was like, oh, they're kind of rude. And I hope that I would have thought that whether they were white or Black. But then your book popped into my head and I saw your sons, from your Instagram feed. I have seen their sweet faces.
So cute.
And I thought, you know what? They're boys being boys. And they have mamas somewhere who are wanting them to be respectful and, just the way I would be hoping my daughter was acting in public. And so it brought that to mind, having read your words.
Yeah, that's beautiful to hear. I mean, just even that self-examination of like, maybe they were being rude, but just stopping to say, are they really being rude? Or am I having, gosh, like we could all seem to do that just so much more. And that was one of my hopes from the book, was just to humanize those little moments where we see people as other, and don't really look into the fact that they have a mother that loves them. They have a father that loves them, and they have a father in heaven that loves them too.
Well, I appreciate your book, and I love, the delicate way that you examine these issues and teach your son, and as a result, teach us that are reading it. So thanks, Jasmine, for being willing to put those really tender thoughts down on paper.
Thank you so much for reading. It means the world to me.
I want to know a little bit more about you, and I want to know what your favorite 5 things are right now. What are you wearing or watching or doing right now that are your favorites?
That's such a fun question. My 5 favorite things right now. 1, my sons are 3 and a little over 1, and they play together so well. It has been so fun.
Enjoy it.
I just love it. Like they spend probably like 3 or 4 hours a day, just like in their room, making up games, and it's great. It's wonderful. I never got along with my brother that well at that age. So I'm just like, this is so good. So that's number 1. Number 2, Ginger and Pearl jewelry. Ginger and Pearl is an Etsy shop. And I am like, she makes the most gorgeous necklaces and earrings and rings. And I just got a paycheck in the mail and I'm like, okay, gonna spend it all. Gonna spend it all there. The third thing, because of all of this coronavirus stuff right now, we're all home together.
Yes, ma'am.
We are very blessed. I know that there are people who are under a lot of financial strain because they're all at home together. We're very blessed to be able to work from home. And so for us, just like we've been able to get into this nice rhythm together of just being able to spend time together throughout the day and still get a lot of work done. I'm hoping it's over soon, but
yes, for now.
For now, we're seeing the refreshing part of it.
Do you have any ideas on family worship time? Since this is one of your favorites and we're not able to go to church right now. Yeah, we're actually reading, I have the books around here somewhere, but the Jesus Storybook Bible, naturally. And then Kevin DeYoung's, I don't see it. I think my toddler ran off with it, but Kevin DeYoung has just kind of a children's storybook version of the Bible as well. And so we alternate between those 2 things. And then we never got entirely through the She Reads Truth advent cards. And so we do those too. Okay. I have those too. Those are great. Yeah. My son he's a little young for them, but he just likes to look at the pictures and, tell us what's up. Excellent. Thank you. Was that 3? That was 3. Okay. 4th favorite thing. I am a total plant person and my plants are making me happy in my house. I'm like, I can just focus on them and water them and it's so great and nice. So that's been good. They're providing some fresh air. They are. Since we're stuck inside. Yes.
yes, they are providing all of the fresh air and all of the greenery for sure. And then fifth is audiobooks. I am loving listening to books and just taking it slow. I am, you talked about your Enneagram. I'm a 5.
Okay.
And I'm seeing all these hilarious memes about Enneagram 5s and how it's like quarantine, yay! Like, I'm just literally having to tell people like, yeah, my husband says you can't come over unless you're also practicing social distancing. So, whoops.
So here we are.
I just gotta stay in and read. Oh man. For now,
right.
We'll see how that unfolds. But It's been good.
That is excellent, Jasmine. Thank you for sharing those with us. I am also somewhat of a homebody, so I really don't mind hanging out here. I've got some projects I'm going to tackle. I hope that you can get lots of reading done and spend lots of time with your sweet boys and your husband.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a good, what is it? It's not quarantine yet, but a good social distancing time.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah. We are basically self-quarantining here because I think everything is closed. And
Yeah.
But I appreciate you so much. I hope everyone reads your book. Tell people where they can find it.
Definitely. They can find it at IVP's website, Amazon, and BarnesandNoble.com. And there's also an audiobook. Everybody asked me if I narrated it. I did not, but they got a very talented narrator.
All right. Fantastic. Jasmine, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jasmine. I love the heart behind her book and her encouragement to us to have hard conversations with the spirit of love and a focus on the gospel. Jasmine's book, Mother to Son, just released on March 24th. Be sure to grab yourself a copy and share the show with someone this week. Also follow Jasmine on Instagram at Jasmine L. Holmes to see the sweet faces of her boys. Friends, don't let the conversation stop when the show is over. Share your stories and start your own conversations with the girls in your life. I'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in.